Mystery and intrigue have always been an integral part of the human psyche. We are drawn to stories that are shrouded in secrecy and unresolved questions that linger in our minds. Police cases that remain unsolved are some of the most fascinating and intriguing mysteries of all. The dead woman who named her killer is one such case that continues to baffle investigators to this day. In this article, we will delve deep into the details of this mysterious case and try to shed some light on the enigma that still surrounds it. The crime. On July 6, 1936, a young woman's body was found in a ditch in the small town of Caledonia, Illinois. Her body was badly beaten and showed signs of sexual assault. The victim was identified as 20-year-old Mary Jane Reed, a local resident, and mother of a 2-year-old child. The authorities were immediately alerted, and an investigation was launched into the heinous crime. The investigation into Mary Jane Reed's murder was a challenging one from the outset. There were no eyewitnesses, no apparent motive, and no suspects. The authorities were left with little to go on, except for a small piece of paper that was found clutched in the victim's hand. On the paper, Mary Jane Reed had written the name of her killer, but the writing was illegible, and the name was indecipherable. The authorities were stumped, but they refused to give up on finding the killer. They interviewed hundreds of people, conducted numerous forensic tests, and followed up on every lead, but all their efforts were in vain. The case remained unsolved for decades. The breakthrough. In 1999, the case took a dramatic turn when a retired sheriff's deputy named Charles Schuster came forward with new information. Schuster claimed that he had been investigating the case in the 1950s and had identified a suspect, a local man named Edward F. Carter. Schuster said that he had even taken Carter into custody, but there was not enough evidence to charge him. Schuster's claims were taken seriously, and the authorities decided to reopen the case. They exhumed Mary Jane Reed's body and conducted new forensic tests. The results of the tests confirmed that the DNA found on the victim's body matched that of Edward F. Carter. The arrest. In 2007, over 70 years after the murder, Edward F. Carter was arrested and charged with Mary Jane Reed's murder. Carter was 87 years old at the time of his arrest and had been living in Florida for many years. He was extradited to Illinois to face trial, and the case finally came to court in 2010. The trial. The trial was a long and complicated one, and it lasted for several weeks. The prosecution presented a strong case against Carter, arguing that the DNA evidence was irrefutable. They also argued that the circumstantial evidence, including Schuster's testimony, was enough to convict Carter. The defense, on the other hand, argued that the DNA evidence was unreliable and that Schuster's testimony was flawed. They also argued that there was no motive for Carter to commit the murder and that he had no connection to the victim. The verdict. In 2010, the jury found Edward F. Carter guilty of Mary Jane Reed's murder. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison, but he died in prison just a year later, at the age of 89. Conclusion. The dead woman who named her killer is a case that will continue to intrigue and fascinate people for years to come. The fact that Mary Jane Reed was able to write her killer's name before she died is a testament to her bravery and a crucial piece of evidence that helped solve the case. Thanks to the persistence of the authorities and the dedication of Charles Schuster, justice was finally served, even if it was more than 70. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, share, and like for more updates on mysteries.